Hey, what's up, DIYers? Mike Bors with the Mike Bors channel. Thank you for watching. Today, I'm honored to be referencing and working on my dad's 1987 Gravely riding mower. It is the 18G with the Kohler engine. And in today's video, the step-by-step process on how to properly and safely readjust and reset your parking brake. Let's get started. All right, DIYers, hey, we are on site at my parents', and in front of us is my dad's 1987 Gravely mower. It is the professional 18G model with the Kohler engine, and again, we are going to readjust our parking brake. Why? Because, well, unfortunately, when we press it and set it, the tractor can still move. Not good, right? Let's take a closer look. To a closer view, and in front of us now is the brake pedal, and when we compress our brake, you can actually see all of the linkage move, as shown there. And when we're on the mower and we compress the brake with our right foot, push it all the way in, and at the same time we come up here and push this back, that should lock it in place, and it doesn't. And again, because of that, we can be on a hill and set the parking brake, and the tractor continues to just roll back or forward, depending on the position of the tractor on the hill. So I will pull that up. We're now going to go back and raise the back cover that the seat is secured to and show you the additional info right inside there with the parking brake pad and clevis pin and cotter pin is located. Now to a closer view of the additional components and linkage of the parking brake system, and just to the left of that we have our forward clutch, and DIYers down below in the comments and description, as well as scrolling above right now, will be a link to a video that shows us properly and safely readjusting and setting our forward clutch. And DIYers, if you've owned your tractor for quite a while and you've never adjusted your clutch, it might be time to, so definitely check that out. However, back to our parking brake linkage, I'm going to come up top and push the parking brake foot pedal, and you can see the additional linkage move. However, it's not grabbing securely or in a tight manner. And with that said, it is clear it needs to be readjusted and reset. We've got a cotter pin here, we've got a clevis pin, and we've got the mount. And we have a jam nut. In our case, our jam nut is a 1/2 inch size. We are going to loosen that up. However, first we are going to come up top and ensure that our forward, neutral, and reverse bar is in the neutral position. And it is. It's not in the forward detent nor reverse. It, again, is in neutral. From here, coming inside, and we are going to loosen up that jam nut. And do your absolute best not to put any damage or harm or aggressive pressure on these parts. And again, just loosen up the jam nut carefully. I'm holding this in place so it doesn't damage or bend anything back here. And it's pretty tight, but it is coming loose. And as you can see, it's pretty rusted, but that's normal. See that? I'm going to back it up all the way until the thread stops on that part, as you can see. Go slow, be precise, don't rush this, DIYers. No need to rush it and damage anything. And that's exactly where I want it. I'm now going to transition to this cotter pin and remove that. And again, this little pin here is called your clevis pin. And I'm going to compress the cotter pin together, as shown there. Followed by coming in with a Craftsman pick tool. Down below in the comments and description will be a link on where to purchase that. I'm going to come to the back side, get a good grip inside it, and pull the cotter pin out. And you can turn it as shown there and continue pulling it out. There it is. Look at that. Set that aside where you don't lose it. And from here, coming back inside, and I should be able to push up on this clevis pin and remove it. And it is a little tough. I'm going to carefully come in here and push it up. There we go. I've separated or released the pressure of this mount that was hugging the bottom portion of the top of the pin. There we go. There's the clevis pin. Carefully removed. The hole is where the cotter pin goes in. DIYers, do not lose this. And from here, I'm going to pull this up. And if you are in the rear portion or behind the tractor, this is how you tighten it and loosen it. And to tighten it, you want to turn this clockwise. And obviously it will be tight because it is old and rusted. And if you want to loosen the tension, which we don't want to do, we want to tighten it, you would turn it counterclockwise. However, again, we need to turn this clockwise. So we are going to spray this and let it sit for a little while so it can loosen up. And again, without making a mess, again, we are going to spray it with WD-40. And we will let that sit for about 30 minutes. We are back from a 30-minute update, and DIYers, if you cannot yet move this or rotate it, I will show you what to do next. At this point, what I did was I wrapped the actual mount with shop towel. The last thing I want to do is scrape, gouge, or damage that mount. And I've got a pair of locking pliers locked in place, and you can see just on the left side the base portion of the mount, and there's the jam nut. And I'm going to ever so carefully try to loosen it up. And at the same time, do not damage this bar. Just move it back and forth. Until it breaks free. And DIYers, it is breaking free. I'm moving it back and forth to not put any additional strain on it. Where it snaps, that would not be good. Go slow, be precise, allow that WD-40 to work itself in and break away that rust and corrosion. At the same time, on the opposite end, don't allow that portion to be damaged. At this point, I'll set it down, and again, standing or being positioned behind the tractor and looking directly into this. To tighten this mechanism, you want to rotate it clockwise, so basically it will be turned toward us. If it's too tight, you will turn it or rotate it counterclockwise. And there's counterclockwise, and there's clockwise. And from here, I'm going to rotate it clockwise probably 2 or 3 times. However, go slow. I'm going to loosen it counterclockwise first. You can hear that, and clockwise. And I am going to remove those, come in from above, re-secure it, and again, clockwise. Followed by counterclockwise and clockwise. And it definitely needs to be lubricated, that's for sure. I'll set that back down. Come in with a spray, as well as inside here. And continue that back and forth. There's counterclockwise and clockwise. Coming back up from above. And again, that back and forth motion will ensure we don't snap the threaded portion of this bar. If you do that, you need a whole new bar. And from here, it's pretty loose. And at that point, I've made enough rotations. I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to maneuver the jam nut back in place. I will re-secure and tighten that with the 1/2 inch and make sure that that is properly positioned. I'll back it off just a little bit, and I'm going to re-secure these and move it where it's centered and straight. So the clevis pin will have no issues going in. Jam nut, I'm going to unwrap this and remove it. And it's still a little offset. I'm going to put this back on. And that is much better. From here, again, I'm going to re-secure the jam nut. And I will tighten that once again once everything is back together. And from here, you'll notice it's not really aligned. We have to push up or pull up on this part right there and align that clevis pin hole and push that in place. And here's the clevis pin. And again, I'll bring it in just a little bit from the top and pull up and push down. Just like that. And the hole is all the way through. Back to the cotter pin, and I'm going to push this in and turn it, as you see, because I want this little loop portion of the pin on the back side. There we go, and push it all the way through and toward you, as you see, just like that, and separate it. Back to the jam nut and carefully tighten that in place. Do not over tighten it, but you want it snug. Now back to the foot pedal. Now to a close-up view of the brake pedal, and by pushing that down, locking that in place, check that out. We are making progress. Let's go back down below and check out the additional linkage. However, first, I will release that. We're back looking at the mechanism we readjusted. And again, the cotter pin is back in, the clevis pin is secured, and the jam nut is secured and snug. And DIYers, I actually took everything apart off camera and rotated this entire part 2 additional times clockwise, which again, in our case, ultimately adds more tension and firmness to the actual pad here. And I will go back up to the foot pedal and push it down, and I will lock that bar in place. And check that out, there is no gap in between here, starting all the way around in that. What looks like a gap, DIYers, if you get real close, there is not a gap. There is a little bit of room on the upper left-hand side, but DIYers, that is the ring itself on the actual part here. You can see it's slightly further back toward the engine part and not flush with the outer part here. And as it loops around, there is a larger separation and it's not as rusted in that location. So again, at this point, just double check everything. Again, you've got your clevis pin, you've got your cotter pin, you've got this mount, you've got the jam nut, you've got the bar, and go to the opposite side of that bar and inspect that. Make sure it is properly secured and not damaged. If all looks good, we can transition back to this part right here. Taking a step back, we're now going to ever so carefully lower the engine compartment panel or cover that the seat is secured onto. Back behind the tractor, and I'm going to shift the camera. And again, DIYers, one more view of the parking brake in motion with the forward linkage as shown here. And again, the bar has to be in neutral, not the forward detent like that, not in full reverse, in neutral, just like that. Pushing the foot pedal down and locking that brake in place. And DIYers, it didn't do that before. Time to go get my dad and have him start the tractor and take it up the hill, set the parking brake, and see how the newly set and adjusted parking brake and linkage performs. All right, DIYers, hey, I just handed the mower back over to the owner, my dad, and he is going to test the parking brake on the hill. And before, well, when you set the parking brake, it just rolled back and never really stopped the tractor from rolling. Not good. Here he comes.